What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to show you how to make super simple, delicious potatoes that anybody can make regardless of your skill level in the kitchen. If I can make these, trust me, you can make them too. And the best part is you don't need a lot of ingredients. You don't need many tools in the kitchen. And like I said, you don't have to be that skilled in the kitchen. This is a dish I've posted on my Instagram numerous times, and a bunch of my followers asked me how to make them. So here you go. We won't waste any more time. Let's get into it. The only thing you're going to need are potatoes. I got this American medley. They're smaller, bite-sized potatoes, salt, and pepper. And if you want to take this to the next level, just add a little bit more. You're welcome to add some bell peppers and onions and also sazon to give this a little bit more coloring. I've already washed my potatoes, peppers, everything's already ready to go and get cut. But in the meantime, while you're preparing that, I would recommend coming over to your stove with your pan and preheating this because you're going to want it hot and we don't want to wait for it. So we'll just go ahead and get that started now, and then we can move on to preparing our vegetables. All right, so the number one thing that I recommend doing whenever you're cooking, and this is coming from an amateur chef like myself, is to not overthink this stuff too much. Like, don't worry so much about how these peppers and onions are cut. Dice them, slice them, do whatever you want. It's not that big of a deal. We're not trying to win awards here, right? We're trying to like hit our macros. We're trying to get gains in the gym. We're not trying to win Master Chef. So don't overthink how you cut them. Just cut them how you want to cut them. If you like little bite-sized bits of peppers and onions, then cut little bite-sized bits. Dice them, so to speak. But if you're like me, maybe you want like bigger chunks, then we're gonna do a little slice or julienne or whatever they call it. I don't know. But even like these little bits here, you know, most people would say like, oh, you can't mix these in if you're going to do strips of peppers. Says who? I'm going to do it. Nice clean seed with everything clean here. We'll toss these. Like I said, if you want everything to look nice, if you have a girl or a guy over, you're trying to impress them, you know, you can put these off to the side if you want everything to look nice and clean. But then we're just going to take our knife and just cut nice little strips of bell peppies, just like this. Oops. The thing with cooking dishes like this too, unlike baking, is you really can't like totally mess it up. I mean, you can like over salt it maybe, but it's never going to be such a disaster where it's like completely inedible. You just have to trust that everything's going to be okay. So just like that, we have all of our peppers into little strips. And if you wanted to make everything uniform, you know, you can just take a strip like this, cut it into little squares like that, you know, do whatever you want. And then we'll move on to our onion. This will be fun. Hopefully I don't cry. Now, obviously this is a pretty big onion. We're probably not going to need all of this. Peel this little husk back. Ooh, that piece doesn't look as good. Toss all this. And then because I'm only going to use roughly half of an onion, I'll just put this one away for later for another meal. Cut that little tip off. And then again, because we're doing strips of peppers here, I'm just going to do the same thing with onions. Just like that. We'll just get these nice little strips like this. Just get your ingredients ready. Mise en place, so to speak. And then last but not least, the potatoes. This one's a little bit more important just because you want everything to kind of cook evenly. So what I typically do is if they're these smaller ones, I cut them in half and then just cut them into quarters. So you kind of get these like little triangle pieces of potatoes. So we'll do that. A little trickier once you get to like these big boys here to kind of get even pieces. Can't cut them exactly the same, but you guys get the deal by now, right? Just get them roughly the same size. Add a little bit of color to this. Oh, I thought they were gonna be purple on the inside. Guess not. And of course, even though I'm showing you how to do this on the stove, if you really want to, just toss them in an air fryer. It's even less work. Ah, there's the purple one. I knew there was gonna be one. That's what I'm looking for. I was so surprised that one wasn't purple. I've bought this bag before, so it's kind of why I was expecting something. Okay, scoop up all our potatoes into here, all of our ingredients. And it is time to go over to the stove. Okay, so at this point, if you preheated it, your pan should be pretty hot. Just a little test right there. Yep, definitely warm. What we're gonna do, put a little drizzle of olive oil. Now these potatoes like soak up that olive oil, so you might need to add a little bit more later. We'll see. See how quickly that olive oil spreads on that pan. There you go. And then we're just gonna put some of our potatoes into this pan. Just like that. Easy peasy. Nice even coating. I'm not even gonna use all the potatoes. And also just to really solidify the point, you don't have to overthink this stuff. You don't have to like confine yourself to rules. A professional chef might say like, oh, you got to blanch these potatoes. You got to soak them in water first for like 10 to 15 minutes before you cook them. I don't have time for that. I don't really care. I've done it before. Yeah, it might make a better potato, but it's not worth the 10 to 15 minutes. So I just do it like this. And get a wooden spoon. You're gonna want this. So I'll just give these a nice little stir. And the important thing to remember about these potatoes, hopefully you can see this little timer here, 115, is that these take a while to cook. It's like you want a slow cook. You want to like blast them because then the outside will get really charred. The inside won't be cooked. So I literally have it on medium heat. Maybe I'll turn it up a little bit higher than that. That's low, that's high. Literally medium is at 6 o'clock. I'm just like a little bit past 6. And then I'm going to add some seasoning. Now, if you're only going to use salt and pepper, that's fine. That's cool. But if you want to add a little bit of coloring to this with Sazón, feel free to do that. But remember, this is, the first 2 ingredients, MSG, salt. So if you use this, you might not even need the salt. So be careful. If you really don't know, later on, taste it first. And if you need salt, add more. Remember, less is more. You can always add more salt if you need to and take it away. So be a little liberal with this. So do like a nice little sprinkle like that, nice coating. I'm gonna do some peppy on top. And then I think there's one ingredient which I forgot to mention earlier, onion powder. We're gonna have that too, but we're gonna wait for this because put them on the potatoes, they can burn really fast, so I like to save it for the end. So now that I have my seasonings on, I'll just give them a little shake like this. Get some of that redness on all the potatoes. We're just gonna let this sit. Slow process. And the reason we haven't thrown the peppers and the onions in yet is because they cook way faster than the potatoes. So if we put them in now, they would just be a soggy mess. So we're gonna wait a little bit. And that's gonna be something you're just gonna have to kind of eyeball over time. It's gonna take a little bit of practice. It's gonna be hard to be like exactly 7 minutes after the potatoes are put in, add in the onions and peppers, because depending on how hot your stove gets, depending on how big you cut the potatoes, it's gonna factor into the equation. So if anything, I think that would be my one big takeaway from this, is that cooking is experimentation. You have to experiment a little bit to know what works, when you need to add it. It's never gonna be so bad that it's inedible. At least it's not for me. If I put them in too early, okay, the peppers and onions are a little too cooked, they're a little soggy, whatever, I'll eat them. But if I put them in too late, oops, they have a little bit more bite than I would like. Not that big of a deal. Give them another shake. Try and even up the way it's cooking. Drink my coffee. Getting a little late in the day, 1:20. Usually try not to drink coffee this late, but why not? I'm probably going to be up late tonight working, so I'll give a pass. If it was 1:15, then we're like 6 minutes in. Guys, I'll be honest, like I did not cook much growing up. Like I didn't cook much in college. I really didn't start cooking until I graduated college, lived on my own as a bachelor, and I just didn't like eating out all that much. It was a lot of money, so started cooking at home, and most of it was just me kind of experimenting, me just kind of willing to subject myself to the process, accepting that there's going to be some failures, and as always, finding YouTubers, following their videos. There's so many people out there that make amazing YouTube videos, so find some of those and, find a recipe, find a video you like, and follow along. And it's such a good skill to have too, because if you guys are trying to get lean, the best way to know what you're doing to your body is knowing exactly what you're putting into it. And if you go to a restaurant, who knows what the hell they're putting in these potatoes? They might be throwing a bunch of nasty oils, just a bunch of junk you don't want. Whereas I know I'm getting olive oil, salt, pepper, and some good old MSG. Give these another toss. And now they've been on for about 8 minutes. So now might be the time where I'm like, okay, let me kind of see where these are at in terms of texture. Don't pick the smallest piece because those are going to cook faster. So maybe pick like a medium, large piece. I can just tell by the way that went into it, it's going to be very underdone. Not very underdone, but still need some time. So we'll let that cook for a little bit longer. Because I'm a one-man show here, I got to work with what I have. One camera as I'm cooking, readjust as I'm cooking, hopefully give you guys the best angles possible so that you know exactly what's going on here. Might have waited a little too long to zoom in on that, but guys, I threw potatoes in, threw some seasonings on, and tossed it. Like, you didn't miss out on much. But here's the close-up shot to really let you guys know what this looks like. And now that these are kind of getting close, this is where I'm gonna add some of my other ingredients. So I'm gonna throw some onions in here. And then, now that everything is in here, whoa, give them another shake. Now you notice it is getting a little light on the oil. All that's kind of soaked it up. We'll see if I want to add more later. I think we might be all right. What I might do is take another taste real quick, both to see how the potatoes are doing and then also to see if I need to add a little bit more seasoning. Saltiness is good. Bear in mind, I have not added any salt yet in terms of like actual real salt. So salt wise, these actually feel pretty good, but I'm gonna throw a little bit more pepper on. Let's get a nice close-up shot here as they're cooking. And note the time too. Started at 1:15, I believe it was, closing in on 15 minutes. So if you guys have your potatoes and everything on, 3 minutes has passed and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. No, it's taking a minute, okay? All right, and now I'm gonna do another taste of potatoes. Almost there. Whoops. Like I said, amateur chef, guys. I'm gonna take this off the pan real quick just to hopefully maybe show you guys. You can kind of start to see the potatoes crisping up a bit on the edges. The skin's starting to crisp up. And then now that we're almost done, I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of onion powder. Any like actual chef watching this is probably like pulling their hair out. Like, what is this guy doing? Oh my God. I enjoy eating it. My wife enjoys eating it. Everybody I've served it to enjoys eating it. So, might not impress Gordon Ramsay, but I don't care. Helps me stay lean, helps me stay full, helps me eat good foods, and that's all I care about. I think my camera went out of focus there for a minute, but these are basically done. I'll do one last taste of a potato. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of salt on this. But as I was saying, I'm done. These are basically finished. If I had to say one thing about them, is that I might have thrown in the peppers a little bit earlier. They're starting to black a little bit. The skin's starting to like, I don't know what you call it, like it kind of gets all wrinkly once it starts cooking. Maybe throw it in a little bit earlier so they were a little bit more black, a little bit more charred, but they're still edible, still good. You're probably gonna be happy with them. So I call it that. We'll turn it off, plate. We'll bring our plate over here and just scoop all of this out onto the plate. Obviously, if you were gonna have a bunch of other stuff with it, you would put on a plate with like your eggs and your sausages or whatever, but I'm only cooking this for a YouTube video. That's how much I care about you guys, so that's all it is. It's one of potatoes, onions, and peppers. Amazing for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Very healthy, great, clean source of carbs if you guys are hitting the gym. Want to have carbs but don't want to feel like you're eating junk, this is a great way to do it. There you have it, guys. That is how you make my super easy potatoes, onions, and peppers. If you only want potatoes, just have potatoes. Like I said, you don't have to follow this exactly. Just do whatever you want. Last thing, the taste test. Always keep a fork in my pocket. Considering I don't know much about cooking, took about 15 minutes, wasn't much to it, and they're pretty good. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy the video, please let me know in some way. Leave a like, leave a comment below. Let me know if you decided to try these, and let me know if you want more cooking videos from somebody like me who isn't a chef, but knows how to eat clean and eat well enough to enjoy what he's eating and stay lean at the same time. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Mama, come here.
Ooh.
Good? Mom approves. What do you think, buddy? Just kidding.